Imagine like a creature, that roamed North America once upon a time. A top predator, even bigger than like a gray wolf. A real-life version of those like fearsome canines from Game of Thrones. Now, what if I told you that this animal, which has been extinct for like over 12,000 years, has been brought back?
Wow.
Pretty crazy, right?
Wow.
Welcome to this deep dive, where we're going to be looking at the story of the claimed resurrection of the dire wolf by Colossal Biosciences. We've got some excerpts from a CNN article that have like all the details. Our mission for you listening today is to unpack these facts, explore the science behind this, and think about what it all means without getting lost in all the jargon. And to help us with this, I'm so excited to have our resident expert with us today.
Glad to be here.
So this CNN article, it really made a splash with this announcement.
Yeah.
On Monday, April 7th, 2025, Colossal Biosciences said that they created 3 dire wolf pups.
3?
And they're saying that this is the world's first successfully de-extinct animal, which is a huge claim. This is the same company that's working on bringing back the mammoth, the dodo, and the Tasmanian tiger.
It's amazing the progress that they're making. It seems like they're really confident in this announcement, too.
Yeah, definitely. Now, for those of us who aren't experts in prehistoric wildlife, what exactly was a dire wolf?
Right.
The article mentions its scientific name, Inosin dirus.
Right.
And it describes it as like a major prehistoric predator right here in North America, and that it disappeared around 12,500 years ago.
Yeah.
That Game of Thrones connection kind of gives us an immediate image in our minds.
Right, a big, powerful canine.
Exactly. Now, the article also talks about how dire wolves were different from the gray wolves that we know today.
Yeah.
They were larger, they had a slightly wider head and lighter, thicker fur, and their jaws were way stronger. So all of these features probably helped them to thrive, in their environment back then and hunt huge animals.
It's fascinating to think about the adaptations they developed to become such dominant predators.
Now, when we hear the word resurrected, we might think of some kind of, science fiction movie scenario.
Right.
But the article is clear that it wasn't like a literal bringing back from the dead.
Yeah.
This involved ancient DNA cloning and some pretty advanced gene editing technology. Can you break down the science behind this for us?
Absolutely. So the first thing they had to do was get some ancient DNA. They used genetic material from a 13,000-year-old tooth.
Wow.
And a 72,000-year-old skull to put together 2 complete sets of dire wolf genomes. Think of it like getting the blueprints to build a dire wolf.
Oh, okay.
Then they compared those ancient genomes to the genomes of living conids, like wolves, jackals, and foxes, to figure out which genes were responsible for the specific dire wolf characteristics.
So they were looking for the genetic code that made a dire wolf a dire wolf.
Exactly.
Okay, so once they knew that, what do they do?
Well, that's when the gene editing comes in. So they use that knowledge to make specific changes to gray wolf cells. They made 20 edits across 14 genes to introduce those dire wolf variations.
So they basically edited the genetic code of a gray wolf to be more like a dire wolf.
That's a great way to put it.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But how do you actually bring an embryo like that to term?
Right. That's where the surrogate mothers come in. They use domestic dogs, large mixed-breed hounds to carry those embryos. And remarkably, they had 3 successful pregnancies leading to the birth of those 3 pups. 2 males in October 2024 and a female in January 2025.
Oh, wow. So they're already here.
Yep.
But the article mentions something really important from Love Dalen, an evolutionary genomics professor and advisor to Colossal.
Yeah.
He says that genetically these pups are 99.9% gray wolf.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So does that mean they're not actually dire wolves?
Well, it's a good question. And Dalen says it's kind of a philosophical question of the scientific community. How many genetic changes do you need to make before you can call something a truly resurrected species? His argument is that they've brought back the dire wolf phenotype, meaning the observable characteristics.
Right.
These animals look more like dire wolves than anything we've seen in over 13,000 years.
So it's more about how they look than their actual DNA.
That's right. Even if the underlying genetics are mostly gray wolf, they've managed to recreate those key dire wolf traits.
So they're not like exact replicas, but they look the part.
Exactly. And that's a major accomplishment in itself.
The article also talks about where these pups are living. It sounds like a very secure and controlled environment.
Yeah, a 2,000-acre facility with high fencing, security drones, cameras.
Yeah.
They're taking every precaution.
Makes sense with such unique animals.
And it's good to know that the facility is certified by the American Humane Society and registered with the USDA.
Yeah, that's reassuring.
Shows they're committed to animal welfare, which is important with this kind of project.
Absolutely. Now, looking at the bigger picture, Colossal hopes that these technologies can be used to help endangered animals, too.
Right.
They've already produced cloned red wolf litters using a less invasive technique that came out of their dire wolf research.
That's really exciting. It could be huge for conservation efforts.
Yeah, imagine being able to help species that are struggling to reproduce naturally.
Exactly. It could be a game changer.
But of course, there are some criticisms of de-extinction efforts,
Of course.
like the cost and the potential risks to the surrogate animals.
Right.
Christopher Preston, an environmental philosophy professor, brings up some good points. He says that while Colossal seems to be focused on animal welfare, it's not clear what the ecological role of these dire wolves would be, especially with all the challenges we're already facing with gray wolf populations.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. We have to think about the impact on the ecosystem.
Right. And can these animals even be released into the wild? Would they be able to survive and fulfill their original ecological role?
It's a complex question, and it's different from something like mammoth reintroduction, where the goal is to repopulate a changed Arctic environment.
So while the science is amazing, the practical side of things is still unclear.
Exactly. There are a lot of unanswered questions.
So just to sum up for our listeners, Colossal Biosciences says they've brought back the direwolf using ancient DNA, gene editing, and cloning.
Right.
These animals are mostly gray wolf genetically, but they have the physical traits of a dire wolf.
It's a remarkable blend of science and a bit of a philosophical puzzle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is a huge scientific achievement, and it could lead to some incredible conservation tools, but we still have a lot to learn about what it all means.
As this technology keeps advancing, these questions are only going to get more important.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. If these dire wolves are 99.9% gray wolf, what does it really mean to bring back an extinct species?
Right.
Is it enough to just recreate the look? Or does the genetic makeup and the ability to fit back into an ecosystem matter more? It's a question that's going to keep scientists and conservationists busy for a long time.
It's a fascinating debate that's only just beginning.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of de-extinction. It's a topic that's sure to keep evolving.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
I know, me too.